Hi everybody, Mature Simmer here. So here in Warsaw, getting ready to head on out for the next leg of our VFR Around the World tour as we're journeying here. So we're tucked away in the corner of the airport here, and we'll start to see if anything starts to populate in. Again, we're off to the side here at Chopin Airport, which is, I think, what it's currently called, but again, in the old listing, and even when you pull it up in Flight Sim, it's Okiche, I think, is what comes up. But we've obviously got the tower out there, and it looks like the suggestion is we head out on runway 15, runway 15 today. And, even though we're using clear skies and so forth, so we don't really have to deal with real weather, because I'm using Navigraph to give me some guidance and so forth, it's still helpful. Whoops, to take a peek. So I'm trying to get this set so that you can see where we are headed. We're over here in Warsaw, and we're basically going to be heading over to Germany in Berlin. But as you can see, a little bit of a roundabout route, which is basically what happens within this series. So we'll talk about it as we go along. But just wanted you to have a view. All right, so we're getting some airplanes popping in here. Kind of what I would expect. So as we're getting going, we're likely going to get some more traffic and all that going on. So we're not going to tune the radios to ATC. We're just going to go ahead because otherwise, I don't know. Well, I tried this last time. It didn't go incredibly well because, we keep hearing things in the background. So you know what? We're going to stay away from ATC. We're just going to leave it that way. We'll get our prop up there. Get our fuel there. I did load in with fuel this time up front instead of doing it later. And we'll get ourselves with ignition going. And we should be all set then. So we're going to want heat. And the weather's beautiful, so we shouldn't need any de-icing or anything. Alright. We have that. Whoops. Wait, what's an exceedance? Why am I exceeding this? I don't understand. Well, that's not good. Alright, I forget which one of the buttons moves it. There we go. Alright. So we're going to get the fuel selector to auto. Get that set. Going to go up here. We can turn ignition to auto. Starter is off. That gets most of those lights off. And again, we'll want to get the air going. So we'll get bleed to auto. Air conditioning on. Fan flow to auto. Get our radios turned on. Going to up under here, get our EFIS master turned on. Get our trim adjusted. Get our flight plan loaded in. So we're going to import from file. So that is our destination. You can see we've got 6 waypoints along the way. Okay, internal cabin temperature is rising over the external temperature. That's always good. Get that calibrated in. And for now, again, we're going to set ourselves to 2,500 feet. We'll adjust if we need to. But the goal of this series is always to get you as nice a view as we can. So we'll get our instruments set. We'll get our lights on. All right. So gyro stabilizing. We can now change this to GPS. Barometer's at 1016. So we'll get that set. And we'll turn on our flight director. Oops, I haven't flipped the switch. So we'll let that power up. And while we're waiting for that, just again remind you what we're doing. We're going around the world, but we're doing so in a very interesting way that we get to learn some things, get to see a lot of things we wouldn't see. Again, the author of these flight plans said they're really a military history fanatic, and therefore there's a lot of things going on there. And again, where we're at, we're going to have a lot of World War II history and so forth, I'm sure, in this leg. But the trip is overall is 115,000 nautical miles, which is over 4, closer to 5 times around the world. So it's going to be a lot of flying. This leg is 494 nautical miles. It's one of the longer legs we've had in many, many legs. Things have been, around 200, things like that. So we've got nav, the yaw damper. We're all set there. So just about ready to get going. All right, so I'm going to head on up here. Tour tuner is, still not operating as it should. I've asked the question about if and when that will be worked. I guess let me check here. I need to taxi before I go. So we're up here in the general aviation section. Kind of picked it based on size, so I got lucky, I guess. Because a lot of times you don't have all the choices, but everything else, since this is a major airport, it looked pretty big. The good news is the runway is right off to our left, so we're just going to head out via, I think it's Bravo 1. Might be something else, but let us get going. Get our flaps down one. All right, so it should be kind of out in this direction here. I believe it's this line here. And that'll take us straight to runway 15. And we can see the hold point right there. We'll go ahead, just do our final checks. Make sure we're properly configured. So flaps are down. Fuel is set. Landing lights are on. Turn the taxi lights off. So let's take a look at the narrative just to see what they have to say, because sometimes they have some preamble stuff, but they do not here. We're going to go ahead and just head out on the runway and get airborne. And once we're airborne, let you know what he has to say. We'll ask Sarah periodically for things. Challenge I've got is normally when we have a tour loaded, she's not kind of interjecting. I don't mind her interjecting, but sometimes it's just not what we need. So in this case, what we're likely going to do, the first waypoints are pretty far apart. So I'm likely going to just take off and set the view and let you guys enjoy the view after just, a little bit of getting things going here. All right, just trying to set on the center line. It's always challenging. I don't have rudder pedals. I'm doing it with a twisting joystick. I don't want to go too hard. Goodness gracious, come on. This is really bad for my normal thing. Alright, I should be enough that I can get airborne here. And then that solves the problem, because then we're not using rudder anymore. Alright, so what I'm going to need, we want yaw damper, we want autopilot, we want this, and then we want to get up in the air. Come on. What is he doing? Take off. Alright, I turned the autopilot off because of that. I have to arm it, that's right. Forgot that little piece. Alright, it is not doing a good job here. So, because the problem is I have too much stick up. Alright. So it's armed. We are climbing. Okay. I think we're finally good. There's always that danger in the beginning. So, we'll see. But, you can see we got 130, because it's 131 nautical miles, I believe, that we need to go. So I'll pop in near the waypoints, but basically what I tend to do is just give you guys a view out the window here. Let you see that, so that you can see what's happening. I don't think I picked up my gear. Let me, I have not. So let's do that. That will help, because, yeah, and all the panicking, that was not going well, but we're heading south out of the airport, if you recall from the map I put up there. So again, we talked last time, these really thin fields. I've not really witnessed this in real life until now, but yeah, in Farming Simulator, whenever you have a Polish map, the fields are always like that. I'm like, I don't understand this. Why don't people have just bigger fields? But they don't. And I'm sure it's, it would be just incredibly expensive, something like that. But let's see. Where are we at here? Alright. So we're good there. The only other thing we want... Oh, I thought I moved my flaps up. I did not. So, it's still climbing a little bit. But yeah, we're going to back off the throttle, and we're going to put it in 850 mode on the flaps. And basically, I don't know what that really does with the flaps, or if they just use the flap switch to do something, but basically that lets us go faster, and we can get closer to this line here. But you can see, like, I think this is, the ITT is the thing that causes a problem with the engine. And again, I did have to reset it again. The engine condition was back to 0, so I gotta understand what's happening with this plane, because I'm doing something wrong with it, clearly. But anyway, we're at 2,500 now. It's obviously settling in a little bit. And, we'll go from there. But yeah, let me put this back on what it should be on. So before I cut away for this leg, we're just going to jump into the narrative. From Warsaw, we'll head south to the ancient Polish city of Krakow, known for its well-preserved medieval core, which is a POI in the game, a point of interest if you're unfamiliar with what that means. Be sure to send the drone down to take a look. Now, this is something he does reference. It's not something I do. The videos are long enough. And again, if people want to do that, I'm sure you'll do it on your own. Hoping some of you that watch this series get the bug to fly these along with me. And, as I do a leg, you do the leg and enjoy it as well. You can have me on in the background and, get some of the things if you don't own SayIntentions or something like that. But you can experience this yourself, fly it the way you want. It's a great way to learn to just, especially an aircraft like this that's not quite as automated or set up as the airliners, just gives you some opportunity to do some things. I probably need to get in the habit of worrying about autopilot later, maybe just get myself on course, whatever. That would save time rather than panicking
Since
that
there
we're
aren't
falling.
any notable landmarks directly below us, let's talk about the closest city, Grodziec. This town is known for being the apple capital of Poland, producing more apples than anywhere else in the country. The tradition of apple orchards here goes back centuries, and if you look down during blossom season, the landscape is a patchwork of white and pink. Grodziec was first mentioned in historical records in the 12th century, and it even received city rights in 1419.
All right. So again, didn't want to talk over her. She's given us some good information. Yeah, it's out our window, so that is it. It doesn't have a D in it, so I'm not sure why she said Grodek. It's Grojec, so it's Grojek would normally be it. Jabłko is apple in Polish, so the city's not named Apple, in case you're wondering. So, but either way, I didn't know that. You probably didn't know that. So she will do things like that. So this is what I mean, where because I can't use the tours, I mean, I could, but they don't work right. They basically sometimes handle the first waypoint and then basically say, hey, we're done, and then we're back. But she'll say things because she's a tour guide and she's twiddling her thumbs and she doesn't know what we're going to talk about because we don't have a tour itinerary in front of her like I'd love to. So hopefully that'll get fixed at some point, and they will be out there if you do use SayIntentions. Like once they get it fixed, I will have everything out there. I'm probably going to get them there anyway, because what I don't want to do is have to do catch up on like 10 legs or something. At this point, I think I'm three legs behind or whatever anyway. The other legs only had like 1 or 2 waypoints, but now that we're back into something a little more substantial, I'm going to go ahead and work on those so they'll be there, but they just don't work correctly, which is unfortunate. Hopefully that'll get solved soon. I really enjoyed the few legs we had where they did work, but as with any software, they're trying to make improvements all the time, and sometimes things break, and unfortunately, I don't know if this is a side light, because again, it's not really ATC, it's kind of an extra feature, but I just don't know that anyone other than me is mumbling about it not working, so I'm sure it falls to the low end of the priority list because they're getting bombarded on a lot of other things. So, and add-ons like SayIntentions are great compared to other things. I'm not a big fan of things like SimFly, stuff like that have showed up. They're not for me. I'm concerned about how they do things and whatever. I think I shared at one point, I got contacted by them and, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I got threatened. And it's like, all right, I'm not, in this to do whatever. I mean, if I need to take them on, I will, because they're fools for their arguments. But, I've got no skin in the game to impact any modder or whatever, other than I'm going to give my opinion. And I think there are tools out there that are bad, but SayIntentions is not one of them. And really enjoy it. I know it's not inexpensive, so I do appreciate the fact that a lot of people can't do it. I will, however, say, if someone from SayIntentions ever watches this, other tools that are less expensive that I do own, like Beyond ATC, I've not touched in a long time. But they are coming up and starting to provide the basic feature set of ATC. I don't know that they'll ever be at the level of SayIntentions, but it gets harder and harder to justify a continuing subscription when things that I really enjoy that are total differentiators from other ATC programs. And the tour guides and the tour tuners are definitely one of those. When they don't work, obviously then I'm not paying for that because I'm not getting it. So all I'm paying for is basic ATC, and Beyond ATC is starting to work on VFR. They've already got traffic injection, so the real world thing, again, I get SayIntentions handles the planes and runs
Since
the
we're in the skies
ATC.
near Nowe Miasto nad Pilica, let me tell you about the Nowe Miasto nad Pilica airfield. This airfield has been a hub for general aviation and glider activity for decades. It's a favorite spot for aviation enthusiasts in the region, especially those who love soaring without an engine. Glider pilots flock here for the wide open spaces and favorable winds. The airfield has a grass runway, which gives every landing a bit of that old-school aviation charm. And here's something. During the summer, you might spot vintage aircraft flying in for local fly-ins, making it a living museum in the Polish countryside.
All right. I don't see that particular one on the map as we go by. She did a better job. She sounded a little more proper in pronunciation, because a lot of times, because it's Krakow is really the way to say Krakow. But again, in English, they butcher other languages, just like I'm sure other languages butcher English. But at the end, you want to do the best you can. But anyway, yeah, so I'm sad that the tour tuner isn't working, because that would make this a lot more realistic, because then Sarah would just pipe in when we hit waypoints, and I wouldn't have to ask her questions and so forth. So, but we don't have it, and I don't want to delay things because I have no idea when we're going to get it. If it was like, hey, we're working on it, we're going to have it in a couple days, that's different. But we've got over 200 legs to fly in this series, and waiting on them. I'd like to do it before I leave this Earth, so, because I'd love to see all of it, at least in Flight Simulator. So I'm going to mute myself here and enjoy the view. As we get closer to waypoint 1, we'll come back, we'll hit more of the narrative about what it has to say about Krakow, and we will go from there.
Since there aren't any notable landmarks directly below us, let's talk about the closest airport, Konsky Komissais Airfield, EPKD. This small airfield is a favorite among general aviation pilots in the region. It's known for its grass runway, which gives every takeoff and landing a bit of classic aviation flair. The airfield is often used for glider operations, so you might spot some sleek sailplanes catching thermals on a sunny day. It's a gathering spot for local flying clubs, and sometimes you'll even see vintage aircraft making an appearance. At our 10 o'clock, about 4 kilometers out, you'll spot Lodowisko I Park Lino. This spot is a favorite for families and adventure seekers, especially in the winter when the ice rink is in full swing. The park is nestled in Strautzeneck, a village that's been around since at least the 15th century. What's great about this area is how it blends outdoor fun with the natural beauty of the Świętokrzyski region. Think forests, rolling hills, and lots of fresh air. If you look closely, you might see the colorful ropes courses winding through the trees. Since there aren't any notable landmarks directly below us, let's talk about the closest city, Pinchau. This small town is nestled along the Nida River and is sometimes called the Pearl of Ponidze. Pinchau has roots going back to the Middle Ages, and it was once a center of the Reformation in Poland. The Renaissance-style Pinchau Synagogue, built in the 16th century, is one of the oldest in the country. The town is also famous for its limestone quarries, which provided stone for many historic buildings in Krakow.
Alright, as we're near Krakow, I'm going to go ahead and talk through what's coming next. So, we'll read what's happening. But a turn to the west takes us to the Czech capital city of Prague on the Vltava River. The pedestrian Charles Bridge, which dates back to 1402, is lined with statues of Catholic saints. Like Krakow, the core of the city is largely unchanged from medieval times. So that gets us through waypoint 2.
Since there aren't any notable landmarks directly below us, let me tell you about the closest city, Prosowice. This small town has roots going back to the 13th century and was once a royal town of Poland. Prosowice is known for its picturesque market square and the church of St. John the Baptist,
it's very tiny.
which dates back to the 14th century.
Okay, it's Prosowice is more likely how you'd say it. So we have Krakow up here. Now, you can see some hills rising out. I did take a look, so you may have seen a point where, you know, there was an engine noise, and that's when I'm doing things on other screens. So if you wonder what happens there. But I was looking at what we were passing over. So after we turn out of Krakow, I'm going to raise us to 4,500 feet because we're going to be having some terrain that's going to be coming up. So we're going to climb to that, and then at some point we'll go down. Now the distance here, again, from here to Prague, is 213 nautical miles. You can see at the top, like, we're getting further away, and this is normal. So that's the thing. I mean, we were probably between 250 and 270 nautical miles away from Berlin when we took off, and you know, now we're going further away. Now we'll kind of be going closer, but we're flying a total of 494 nautical miles, you know, which is about twice as long as if we just flew to Berlin. So that is a lot of what happens here, but that's how we get to see things, because otherwise we just wouldn't see Krakow, we wouldn't see Prague, we'd just be flying from point to point to point, and this would be 25,000 nautical miles, or, you know, maybe 35, 40,000, you know, because you can't fly straight around the world, certainly not in this aircraft. But yeah, that just isn't the nature of what they've done here. And again, I thought it was a wonderful idea and a huge amount of effort they put in. So I definitely wanted to honor that with, hey, something that'll live out on YouTube for people to see this gentleman's work. Again, if you want a lot of the details, you know, go back to the start of the series. I talk about who it is. Again, the flight plans and everything are linked in the description of every one of the videos here, so you should be able to find it as long as they don't get removed from that location. You know, if someone does come across that and, hey, the link doesn't work anymore, let me know. I'm not going to go update all the old ones, but certainly if, you know, 50 legs in, they move it to something else, and someone's like, oh, they got moved, that web address no longer functions, your link is broken, we can go through that. But let's cycle around here so we can get a good look at hopefully some of Krakow, because yeah, none of this looks older, but we're what, 3 nautical miles away, so I'm sure, you know, we've got a little ways to go, but, you know, we basically are doing 1/10 of a mile every second at the rate we're going, which is about 221 is what Navigraph is telling me. But, you know, the unchanged center, I'm assuming the waypoint they placed on here is near that, but yeah, it looks like we've got a big rail yard. Yeah, and I don't know how well things will really render, but there we go. Large city, a lot of greenery left, which is really kind of cool. I've heard it's a very beautiful city. So, yeah, my parents are from Poland. None of them lived in this city, but, you know, they always talk about that they had wanted to go back. Now with how things have gone in the world, they're, you know, and they're older, they're obviously less likely to do that. You know, they've kind of indicated that, but, alright. So we're gonna arm this, and I'm just probably gonna climb slowly, because we've got a long way to go, and that way I'm not gonna change my, whatchamacallit, my speed my power. So we're going to trade some airspeed for lift. So yeah, we're down to 213. You know, I don't know how far we'll fall, but, you know, there's not clearly mountains looming in front of us. And again, we're only going up 2,000 feet, so we're not talking about mountains. But let me just double check, because now I'm a little worried.
At our 2 o'clock, just 1 kilometer out, you'll spot Krakow Airport im Jana Paula II. This is the second busiest airport in Poland and has been welcoming travelers since 1964. It's named after
right
Pope
there.
John Paul II,
Right
who
there.
was born nearby in Wadowice. So you could say this airport has some divine connections. The airport played a key role during the Cold War, serving both civilian and military flights. Today it's a gateway for millions of tourists eager to explore Krakow's historic old town and the nearby Wilicka salt mine.
So there you go. It's another bit of trivia that you're not going to get from any other YouTuber. Almost guaranteed. So, since they mentioned Pope John Paul II, and again, he was Polish. Yes, my parents were super, super proud when, you know, they were already in the U.S., you know, had me, whatever. So I went through that when he got appointed and so forth. But one of the little bits of trivia is if you're a Catholic, and again, Catholicism is the biggest religion in Poland by far. I think over 90, maybe even 95% of Poles are Catholic. But if you are Catholic, obviously it's important to you. You've, you know, you'll understand a little bit. But my mom was actually confirmed by who was to become Pope John Paul II. So she did have him as the priest that presided over her ceremony. So there is that little bit. So that was you know, they were very excited when they heard he was the one selected, and obviously loved his reign as Pope and so forth. So we go back to checking, because when that came up, I'm like, oh, let's see if we can see the airport. And we were overflying it, so wanted to give you a view, because that's the point of VFR. Let me go here, though, because otherwise, other than changing the altitude, nothing much is going to happen. So we're not going that way. Yeah, should be okay with what I'm seeing. So things get above 3,000 feet, but not much more than that. So, and it's pretty soon. Like, it's this forest land and things that we're going. As you can see, there's about 200 miles left, so I'm going to let you enjoy the view. Don't know how long those hills are going to continue. It looks like they kind of go away over there, but and yeah, straight down I can see on my Navigraph charts 10,400, 10,700 is the minimum altitude to make sure you clear everything in those segments. So there are some mountains down there, but we're not heading that way at this point. I'm sure at some point we will be enjoying the Alps and doing other things, but not sure where this takes us right now. But obviously we came around Norway, Sweden, Russia, all of that. We didn't do anything in England or anything like that, so I would not be surprised if we're headed in that direction. I mean, we're going to Berlin now. That's near the north of Germany. You know, we might go through a little bit more. We did do a little bit of Denmark and stuff, so maybe it won't go up there. But we'll see. But I'm thinking, you know, we'll be in Europe for maybe all of 2026. I don't know. Another 50 legs or so. I don't know that I'll ever really get to more than one a week. It's become, I've had the intent to do that. And honestly, once again, just kind of beating the tour tuner thing. If that existed, because yeah, I forgot to ask Sarah. We talked about it. I gave you the detail. And I think she chatted a little bit, but let's ask Sarah about Krakow. Sarah, what can you tell us about Krakow? So, always takes a bit.
Krakow is one of Poland's oldest and most beautiful cities, dating back to the 7th century, and is famous for its stunning medieval old town, Wawel Castle, and the historic Jewish quarter of Kazimierz.
Not much, but anyway. Yeah, it's just a little more fun, well, a lot more fun, when that's working and I can just fly. And I can let her jump in and handle things. I mean, she kind of is. She's making comments, but I've found that the random comments tend to center around, we're going over this airport, and there's vintage aircraft that come here once in a while. Like, they're the same. So they're not very intriguing. I mean, the Apple thing was awesome, but you don't know what she's going to say. So, and what she's going to talk about. And other than bringing things up about the airport, she talked about Prosovica outside on the outskirts of Krakow, but really I don't think really dealt with anything beyond that. So, I'll see ya in a bit.
Since there aren't any notable landmarks directly below us, let me tell you about the closest city, Tychy. Tychy is famous across Poland for its brewery, which has been producing beer since 1629. The Tychy Brewery is one of the oldest in Europe, and if you look closely, you might spot its sprawling complex from the air. The city itself grew rapidly after World War II as a planned urban center, and it's surrounded by lakes and forests, making it a favorite spot for outdoor enthusiasts. Since there aren't any notable landmarks directly below us, let me tell you about the closest city, Opava. This city is one of the oldest in the Czech Republic, first mentioned in records from the 12th century. Opava was once the capital of Austrian Silesia, so it has a mix of Czech and Austrian influences in its architecture. The city is known for its beautiful parks and the Opava River winding through its center, which you might spot from up here. Opava is also home to the Silesian Museum, which was founded in 1814 and is one of the oldest museums in Central Europe. Since there aren't any notable landmarks directly below us, let me tell you about the closest city, Krnov. Krnov is a picturesque town nestled at the confluence of the Opava and Opavis rivers. It's known for its impressive synagogue, which was built in 1871 and survived World War II, making it one of the few in the region to do so. The town is also famous for its Kavilin Hill, topped with a Baroque pilgrimage church that looks like something out of a fairy tale. If you squint, you might just spot it from up here. Krnov has a long tradition of textile manufacturing, and its old factories are a reminder of the town's industrial past. And here's something. Krnov is also home to a legendary organ factory, Rieger Kloss, which has been crafting pipe organs for cathedrals around the world since 1873. At our 3 o'clock, about 5 kilometers out, you'll spot the rolling hills and forests of the Jeseniki Mountains. This mountain range is the second highest in the Czech Republic and is famous for its dramatic peaks, deep valleys, and lush forests. The highest peak, Prague, rises to 1,491 meters and is topped with a distinctive TV tower that looks like something out of a sci-fi movie. The Jeseniki area is a hotspot for hikers, skiers, and anyone who loves the great outdoors. Since there aren't any notable landmarks directly below us, let me tell you about the closest city, Ústí-nad-Orlicí. This town has been around since at least the 13th century and is nestled right at the confluence of the Ticha, Orlič, and Trebovka rivers. It's a hub for outdoor enthusiasts, especially cyclists and hikers, thanks to the scenic trails that wind through the surrounding hills and forests. The city is also known for its railway history. The railway station here is a key junction and has been connecting travelers since the 19th century. If you look closely, you might spot the old textile factories that once powered the town's economy. Since there aren't any notable landmarks directly below us, let me tell you about the closest city, Ústí-nad-Orlicí. This town has been around since at least the 13th century and is nestled right at the confluence of the Ticha, Orlič, and Trebovka rivers. It's a hub for outdoor enthusiasts, especially cyclists and hikers, thanks to the scenic trails that wind through the surrounding hills and forests. The city is also known for its railway history. The railway station here is a key junction and has been connecting travelers since the 19th century. Since there aren't any notable landmarks directly below us, let me tell you about the closest city, Pardubice. Pardubice is famous for its gingerbread, which has been baked here since the Middle Ages, and for its beautiful Renaissance chateau right in the city center. The city is also home to one of the oldest horse races in Europe, the Velka Pardubica steeplechase, which has been thrilling crowds since 1874. Aviation fans might know Pardubice for its airport, which has served both military and civilian flights since 1910, making it one of the oldest airfields in the Czech Republic. And here's something. The city's coat of arms features a silver horse, a nod to its equestrian heritage. Since there aren't any notable landmarks directly below us, let me tell you about the closest city, Cologne. Cologne is a charming town on the banks of the Elbe River, and it's been around since at least the 13th century. The town is famous for its Gothic church of St. Bartholomew, which was designed by the same architect who worked on St. Vitus Cathedral in Prague. Cologne was an important trading hub in medieval times, and you can still spot remnants of its old fortifications from above. The city is also known for its sugar refinery, one of the oldest in the country, and its picturesque main square lined with colorful historic buildings.
Alright, I am back. We're coming up on Prague here. So, we'll see what we can see. If you followed along while we were flying this leg, first off, thank you, absolutely. It's a good time to also ask folks if you would be so kind as to like and subscribe. It's really important to the channel and would be greatly appreciated. But you will have noticed, if you watched the last leg, yeah, I got a little close to a hill. I had to climb a little higher, so obviously I had missed something on the chart. It's hard because you're
At our
just
12 on o'clock,
quickly
just a few miles
scanning.
out, you'll spot the historic K-Belly Airfield, LKKB. This airfield is a real treat for aviation fans. It's one of the oldest airports in the Czech Republic, opening way back in 1918, just after World War I. K-Belly played a huge role in the early days of Czechoslovak military aviation and is still an active military base today. If you squint, you might even spot the Czech Air Force Museum on the grounds, which houses an impressive collection of aircraft, from vintage biplanes to Cold War jets.
Sarah, please tell us about the city of Prague.
Prague is the capital of the Czech Republic and one of Europe's most beautiful cities, famous for its medieval old town, the iconic Charles Bridge, and Prague Castle, which dates back to the 9th
Maybe that's
century.
it. Okay, let's see what we see here. Obviously, that's why we're doing a lot of this, is the waypoints, and, well, why we're doing all of it is to get to the waypoints and see. So, yeah, a lot of smokestacks. Oh, that's just maybe a... No. It might be a radio tower. It's like those Soviet-era things with the little rounded balls. So, yeah, I don't know if the Charles... We're going to make a really sharp turn. So, I'm not sure which river is that, but I'm assuming this is kind of the old town here. Definitely a lot tighter roofs and all that. There's a nice thing there. Again, they talked about a castle, but just hard to pick things out when you're flying at 200 miles an hour. Oh, the river kind of goes through some gorges just right outside of town. That's kind of cool. Alright, so now we've got 54 nautical miles to waypoint 3. And so what we have there, from here, turn north to the Basti Bridge in Lohmen, Germany, on the Elbe River, which features a picturesque set of tower-like rocks. And then we have a pretty short move after that, but yeah, 54 nautical miles. It's going to take us, again, it's about a second, as you can see, per tenth of a mile, so that basically means a mile every 10 seconds, or 6 miles every minute. So it's going to be a little under 10 minutes. Yeah, there's like little towns down there. That's pretty cool. Wow. Yeah, it's pretty neat. You know, you just wonder, though, with, again, like the area I'm at, you know, they sustained Hurricane Helene flooding at one point, and it does make you wonder, you know, when they get heavy rainfall, do those areas flood some? I mean, they have some buildings pretty close to the river, so you'd think they would not.
Since there aren't any notable landmarks directly below us, let me tell you about the closest city, Kralupy nad Vltavou. This town sits along the Vltava River, which you might spot winding through the landscape below. The river has been a lifeline for the area for centuries, supporting trade and industry since medieval times. Kralupy nad Vltavou was heavily rebuilt after World War II, and today it's known for its chemical industry and railway connections. If you look closely, you might see the bridges spanning the river. One of them is a classic steel truss bridge that has become a bit of a local icon.
Alright, so I've been looking at a few other things here and there. So I see some more hills coming up. I don't recall anything being problematic from a height standpoint. So I should be okay. I don't recall anything being more than 1,500. Again, we've got terrain on here. So unless we start seeing some red, because, you know, we had just flown over some green, it looks like. So that got within, I think, 1,500 feet of us, which means it's 1,000 feet up. But, because we are going to go slightly to the west before we head back north. So yeah, I'm not sure. Let me see if I can tell what river this is. Oh, that's the Elbe, which makes sense. I think they talked about that with the with Prague. And it's the same river, because there is a branch at some point, but yeah, it's the same river that goes up and through to waypoint 4. We're headed to waypoint 3, just as a reminder. So, so you can see, yeah, we're getting some little bits here. So we'll see, because I did go down to 2,500, because I'm like, yeah, that'll be good, but once again, we're kind of, once we hit the river, we're then gonna turn with it, so I would say that we're going to be at the lower levels. Like, I just don't remember anything jumping out. I think we might get close. There were things that were like 1,900 feet, so... But now that we're getting closer to the end, I know it still shows, at least on my Navigraph, about 114, 113 miles to go, so we've got still a little ways. But, you know, I'm obviously going to pay a little more attention, where on the long legs I kind of get back to what I need to be doing and just let the sim go and let you enjoy the view if you'd like, and go from there. But
At our 11 o'clock, about 3 kilometers out, you'll see the stunning Ploskavai Chateau. This Baroque palace looks like something out of a fairy tale, complete with ornate gardens and a pond that reflects the whole scene like a giant mirror.
what just happened?
Built in the early 18th century for Anna Maria Franziska of Saxe-Lauenburg, it later became a
We're not
summer
gonna have
residence
any
for the
idea.
Habsburg emperors. The interiors are so lavish, they've been used as filming locations for several Czech fairy tale movies.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows where that might have been? Somehow I had turned on heading. That's why it turned away. I'm like, what is going on? And yeah, this is like the last place I want to start going off, you know, heading to the red or whatever. But yeah, even those, I mean, they're showing like 2,100 feet. So at 2,500, I should still be okay. Like the one we're coming near and between, the one on the left is 1,900. Like, in theory, it's... Yeah, so that's probably getting a little closer than we'd like. Like, what is it doing? Did it finally, like, get back online from the turn? That seemed to take a really long time. Because, yeah, I think the yellow is 1,000 to 500 feet, and then it's 500 to 0, or above us, obviously, once it gets into red. So, you know, flying over yellow shouldn't be a big problem. But it's a nice toasty 71 in the interior. You can see that over on the right. It's 54, 53 outside. Again, we're not using real weather. So the problem would be right now, it's the middle of winter, and that could get crazy. So yeah, there is something we're going to fly. It's going to be to the left of us. That's 2,374 feet. So it might be that. I don't know. But it's like there's another road up, and because yeah, I think it's 1,600 feet are the couple, which I think are these. So we should pass just to the left of this, and obviously to the right of that by quite a bit more. But really nice terrain. Always is, you know, I think this is what we always picture Europe, just these, you know, little hilly lands. And but yeah, so I'm always looking more for like what's really nearby. It's just somehow I had missed that one position. So we're down to, as you can see, about 13. I think as we cross that ridge, we're then going to be back, because the river is now over to the right of us. Can't really see it, but I think it goes around all that, and then it starts to come back. But yeah, we passed Ústí nad Labem, was the large city that was to our left a ways back. That's where the river kind of, yeah, there's a T-junction in essence. So I was like, well, the Elbe continue, and again, I don't know which way it flows. Like, is it flowing this way? Is it flowing the other way? You would think it would be going this way, like to the, say, the Baltic Sea or something, but I don't know. No idea where the continental divide is in Europe. You know, kind of like in the US, we're a little more familiar. Like, yeah, it's mainly the Rocky Mountains. Everything on the east side drains to the Mississippi and down, and everything on the west kind of goes with various rivers out, because you're a lot closer to the Pacific Ocean there than you are to, say, the Atlantic. So I don't think there's anything from the east side of the Rockies that wouldn't go to the Mississippi River and go to the Gulf, but obviously there are rivers that go out to the Atlantic Ocean at some point. So I think, oh yeah, we're long past the 2001. Yeah, these are all 1,500, 1,400 feet. So yeah, that red mass about 5 miles behind us now was that. But we're coming up on the river. It should, because we're basically going to pass through a bow of the river.
Since there aren't any notable landmarks directly below us, let me tell you about the closest city, Dresden. Dresden is nestled at the confluence of the Elbe and Ploutz rivers and is famous for its dramatic sandstone cliffs and the stunning Dresden Castle perched high above the river. The castle dates back to the 13th century and has hosted everyone from emperors to composers. Franz Schubert even stayed here.
Assuming those are the sandstone cliffs.
The city is a gateway to the Bohemian Switzerland National Park, known for its otherworldly rock formations and lush forests. If you look closely, you might spot the Elbe River winding its way through the landscape, making Dresden a favorite stop for river cruises and hikers alike.
Right, so there's the bow, and yes, we had read about it features a picturesque set of rocks, tower-like rocks, so that's what we have. So thinking that's like a farm of some sort along the river, which again, if it were to flood. So somewhere here, there's the Lohmen Bridge. So I don't know. Not seeing any bridges. I don't know, we may have missed it. I don't see a bridge. So, and now we're going to our next point. Tell us about the Lohmen Bridge, please.
The Lohmen Bridge is a historic railway bridge in Saxony, Germany, built in the late 19th century as part of the region's expanding rail network.
Bridge.
And it's known for its impressive stone arches spanning the Wesenitz River.
Alright, so now we have head a few miles northwest to the city of Dresden. Allied bombing raids in February of 1945 created a firestorm that killed anywhere from 22,000 to 25,000 people and destroyed more than 1,600 acres of the city center. Those bombings are at the heart of Kurt Vonnegut's novel Slaughterhouse-Five. The waterfront includes two 18th century churches, which were heavily damaged during the war and rebuilt afterwards, with the Frauenkirche only being reconsecrated in 2005, after the ruins had been left as a war memorial for 50 years. And, so I think, because I don't know if we have multiple waypoints right here or not. I don't know if, yeah, because that could be 4 or 5, and then there's 6. Because then there's only 8 miles to the next position. But we're basically now on the outskirts. Like, this is Dresden. So, the waypoint's still like 6 miles away, as you can see. But yeah, we'll see what is visible. And then there's a castle, I believe, up there. But yeah, this is the Elbe River. So we're going to be at a bend. Right there is going to be our waypoint. So yeah, we'll cross the river and then we'll immediately turn and go back across it again for a time. And so yeah, I'm assuming this, where it's taking us as a waypoint, is where some of these things are. So again, just so I'm aware, yeah, 2 waterfront churches, so that would be kind of cool if we could see anything there. I just don't know that we will. So yeah, it's right around there is where we'll turn. Sarah, please give us some information about Dresden and the 2 riverfront churches.
Dresden is known for its stunning Baroque architecture. And along the Elbe River, you'll spot the Frauenkirche, rebuilt after Epwa-Eddb, and famous for its grand dome, and the Hofkirche, which was built in the 18th century and is the largest church in Saxony.
Huh. I'm not sure where those are, but interesting. Alright, well, let's pop back to that. So, just 8 miles to the north, you'll find Moritzburg Castle. Originally built in the 1546, then expanded in 1776. It served as the home of several German nobles until the Soviets turned it into a museum in 1945. Oh, so in theory it's here somewhere, because it seems to be turning. Let's see. No, never mind, we're still... So we must have just been kind of getting on there. We're just about halfway. So it shows 7 miles, so Dresden Airport's over here. There it is. So just a single runway there. So I'm guessing that is going to be the castle, because yes, it's in a lake. So we'll see if we can get a really nice view here. That would be cool. So there is the castle. Very nice, very nice. Yeah, it's on an island with, I assume those are trees around the edge, but I don't know. Alright, so now we got a little bit longer leg, and this is our final waypoint that we're headed toward. So 50 miles. And so our next waypoint is the Tropical Islands Resort, a popular vacation spot that attempts to recreate the feeling of a tropical island resort in the center of Northern Europe. Interesting. A turn to the northwest will take us to our destination on the south side of Berlin at Brandenburg Airport. The next flight will take us over the heart of Berlin. Still, there's a lot of history and much to see, so this might be one of those times to rent a CTSL and take a tour of the city. I do not know what a CTSL is, so cannot help you there. I assume, I don't know, maybe it's some little independent, or maybe a CTSL is an aircraft that you can use in the game. I don't know. But yeah, we're now heading up, and I'm assuming we'll be pretty close, so I'm going to, again, give you the view. I'm going to mute myself, just let you look. It doesn't mean I won't do something in between. Sorry, my voice just vanished right there. But we'll do that, and as we get closer, I will take off the TBM afterburners, and we'll go from there and make a slower approach into Berlin, just so, again, it doesn't become a crash at the end, which would be awful. So I will see you in a bit.
Since there aren't any notable landmarks directly below us, let me tell you about the closest city, Grossenhain. This town has roots going back to the 13th century and was once an important trading center in Saxony. Aviation fans might be interested to know that Grossenhain is home to one of Germany's oldest airfields, which was established in 1913 and played a role in both world wars. The city itself is dotted with charming old buildings, including the Renaissance-style town hall and the St. Afra Church, which dates back to the 12th century. Since there aren't any notable landmarks directly below us, let me tell you about the closest city, Finsterwalde. This town is famous for its choral tradition, earning it the nickname the Singing Town. Back in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Finsterwalde's male choirs were so popular that they inspired a song called We Are the Singers from Finsterwalde, which became a bit of a local anthem. The city also has some beautiful old architecture, including the Finsterwalde Castle, which dates back to the 16th century. Since there aren't any notable landmarks directly below us, let me tell you about the closest city, Luckau. This small town in Brandenburg dates back to the Middle Ages and was once surrounded by impressive defensive walls, some of which you can still spot from above. Luckau is known for its beautiful old town, complete with half-timbered houses, and the striking St. Nicholas Church, which has a tower that's been watching over the town since the 13th century.
So
the area is also dotted with
that
small
was
lakes
the
and forests,
thing,
making it a favorite for nature lovers and
the
bird
tropical
watchers.
forest thing. So I apologize. I had gotten pulled into something, but yeah. So that's the. It's just a building, just a dome. So yeah, not sure how visible it was, but not much we could see there. But now we are headed to the airport. So yeah, it's 21 miles away. So we probably need to start getting ourselves set up and configured as we talked about. So we're gonna pull this back. That's gonna slow us down a bit. And I'm going to, let's see, we'll head out because we're trying to land, where was it again? 2-4 right. So, yeah, we're going to want to kind of head over. So 2-4, that's going to give us what? So 360. Now hold on. Am I headed in? Yeah, I'm headed on 330. So yeah, we kind of want to go that way. So 330, 360, and then, so yeah, gonna move us that way. So we will do that. We'll head over on heading. And that will bring us over, and then we're gonna want to go 330 and come on up to the airport. So we'll do that. And the airport itself is, let's see, 156 feet. So yeah, we'll get ourselves down to, say, 1,200 feet. So we'll start descending here. But then we'll be in pretty good shape here. But we don't have to go super, super far. But that will get us down to, you know, the 1,000 feet above. And yeah, there's a bunch of things at like 700 feet, 900 feet. So we don't want to get too low. We'll get our landing monitor running so that we know height above ground level. Okay. So now we're going to sweep back to 330. That will also keep us kind of out of the way of most of the windmills. Well, kind of. We're kind of headed toward them, but that's okay. So they should be kind of in that forest area, but this will give us a good... There they are. But we're going to level out at about 100 feet, so... And yeah, we're missing most of them. But yeah, I think they're 933 feet, so we're a good ways away. I didn't check the... Let's see, Q... So So, there we go. So we're actually probably a little bit higher than we wanted to be, which is fine.
Since there aren't any notable landmarks directly below us, let me tell you about the closest city, Storkow. Storkow is a charming town surrounded by lakes and forests, making it a favorite spot for nature lovers and weekend
weird
adventurers.
looking.
The town itself dates back to the 12th century and is home to the impressive Storkow Castle, which has seen everything from medieval knights to modern-day festivals. The area is dotted with glacial lakes, so from up here you might spot shimmering blue patches nestled among the trees.
What is going on there? How did he appear? That was weird. Sarah, tell us about Brandenburg Airport. Alright, so we're going to want to take a peek
Brandenburg
over
Airport,
here.
officially known as Berlin Brandenburg Airport, Willy Brandt, BR. Opened in 2020 after nearly a decade of delays and is now the main international airport, serving Berlin and the surrounding region.
So we're going to turn. Just trying to make sure I can see what I'm doing. We're going to get our flaps down. Because, yeah, we're kind of where we need to be. We need to be at about 240. So we want to be careful. I'm actually more lining up with left than right, which in the end doesn't matter. But we'll go over where we should be. Just because that's the one we picked, but, alright. So we're going to get ourselves down there. Yeah, we got this river, and then the airport. So, just kind of guiding it in. I think it's the darker east, because otherwise, it just wouldn't make sense. Alright. So, slowing down. Yes, there is the... There is the runway. 500. I think the Pappy lights have us a little too low. So we'll get ourselves a little flatter here. Yeah, and you can see everything's red below us in the terrain because now we're within 500. We're really within 300 now that we've come up out of the river basin, but just trying to kind of keep some level flight here. Doing a terrible job, but we're trying to do that. Because yeah, right now we're still too low for where they'd like us. According to the Pappy lights, we got 4 reds, so just gonna get this a little bit better. Not quite sure why we're getting the... Alright, so just about there. Alright, now we want to kind of go at 3 degrees. Pull it back because we got enough glide. We'll aim there. And we'll try to get at our touchdown. Oh, I forgot to put my wheels out because I'm an idiot. Are they going to come out now? They're not. Did I put them down? No. Here we go. Let's see. Let's see if they'll come out now. So, every once in a while, you'll get that with me. I was just too worried about landing. But good news is, it still counts, right? I landed very well. I landed at 8 feet per minute. But yeah, I was just doing some crazy stuff. But it won't come out for obvious reasons. But anyway, we are here. I apologize for the disastrous ending. Obviously, we'll get ourselves turned off. That'll all work. And we are here in Berlin, very poorly. So I'm like, why can't I turn? But that's why. Because I was sliding a lot. Yeah, we would have destroyed our prop. You can see it's in the ground, but why is it not stopping? It's kind of funny. But not the best ending. I apologize for that. So I'm embarrassed. I was just so concerned about landing, and I was doing my flaps, but I was not doing my the rest of it. So bad on me. Look at that one bouncing along. He's got a pilot in there like me. But there's nothing much more to say, but hopefully you've enjoyed it. We'll be back for leg 21 next time, and we'll try to actually use our wheels this time as we land. That probably was the beeping that I had in the background that I was like, what is happening? That would be what was happening. So, a bad example of an aviator. I will see you next time.